Hello, 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 hello. We are live. And this is actually being streamed to my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page or Facebook profile. Get my P's out. It's also being shared on my Facebook page, which is 𝗙𝗶𝗱, the Queen of Being Seen, not quite Visibility Queen. And if you're looking for that, you can find that at Facebook and all the bits / at Visibility Vibe, but without the E. And I'm also streaming it live on YouTube. So I'm here today. If this is the first one of these videos that you have caught, nearly a year ago, in fact, it was 361 days ago to be precise, I decided to challenge myself personally and see whether I could actually stream a Facebook Live every single day, including the weekends, including my birthday, including Christmas Day, including friends' birthdays, including days where I was working out and about, every single day consecutively for 365 days. And today is day number 361, which means that after this broadcast, there are 4 more left and I've done a whole year. How cool is that? So I am going to talk about something that I feel like I've been talking about a lot today. So I could have streamed this on LinkedIn. I could have streamed this in lots of other places, but I've already done a room on LinkedIn. I held an audio room earlier on today. And if you like audio rooms, think Clubhouse, think podcasts, think something that you can listen to like MP3s, then by all means join me the Tuesday after next, which will be the 20th. Join me on the 20th over on LinkedIn, where I'll be hosting another audio room. I'm going to make it slightly shorter this time because I felt like for the masterclass that I delivered, it just felt very content heavy, which is great for those attending, but it can be a bit head spin. And one of the things I was talking about is this work that I've been doing as a visibility specialist for 14 years and why it's even got a vibe, called a vibe, and everything else. So let me start from the beginning and finish at the end. This visibility work has felt really life purpose, but it started in 2010 when I was going to focus on training and coaching on one hand, cakes and chocolates on the other hand. Some of you, especially those of you that are connected to me more personally, will know this and will remember this as well. I was the cake lady, also the chocolate lady. But I decided just a couple of years in to focus purely on the training and coaching. Now, what is visibility? Why does it matter? So whether you're an employed professional, whether you're an exec, whether you are a freelancer, whether you're a founder of a company, whether you run an SME, whether you are a part of a much bigger organization, whether you're making huge financial income, or whether you're getting started or doing the entrepreneurial roller coaster, one thing that is the glue between your sales and marketing is visibility. So your ability to be visible, your ability to be seen is one of the most important things that bring all the marketing that you've been doing of your business and the sales of your business together. If you are an employed professional and you've got ambitions to progress your career, or even just to stay where you are, do a good job, but make sure you get the recognition, often the pay rises and all of that kind of stuff, you will need to nail down how you're going to be seen, how you're going to be visible. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole of this, but for some people, it's really like a personal brand thing. It depends on if they're the face of their brand, which I am. There are times where they're my stories or myself that needs to be visible. And then there are other times when actually it's all about the framework, all about the system, all about the audience, all about the people who are looking to raise their professional profile and put themselves out there. So this is also an important distinction to make. For some of the people that I've had the pleasure of working closely with over the last 14 years, some of them, it's a bit of both. Maybe the founder's quite visible, but it's the company, the products, the services, and what they do that needs to be seen. So back in the day when I started, I actually worked with a couple of coaches for various different things, and one particular mentor who I will forever be grateful to, because like many other people in that particular mastermind, we were convinced that our work is different, it's very individual, it's very unique, it has to be bespoke in order for it to work. And there are elements of that that are true, but basically there were repeatable steps. And I didn't quite buy into that or believe it. So I continued and did the work anyway, until we were at a retreat in Arizona in America. And I suddenly had a light bulb moment that, yes, if there were quantities of people all at the same time needing to know how to impact or raise their visibility, I could help them by giving them a few hints and tips. Do this thing, stay away from that, like stop doing this thing, start doing this thing, continue doing this thing, or try this, but for you, try that. And I realized that there were actually repeatable steps. So I was a good student. I took the coaching, or a good coachee or mentee. I took the coaching, the nuggets, the learnings, and with the help of that particular mentor, I realized that there were 5 repeatable steps. There's actually about 7 when you think of the sort of steps underneath, and little baby steps as well. But there's actually 5 key steps in the visibility system, hence the name, the vibes. Easy for me to remember, easy for you to remember. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly talk you through what they are. And I'm going to do it quickly because I need to be on a call in a few minutes as well. So if you think of them as 5 key pillars, 5 key areas, 5 key ways to being seen, here's a kind of like what they are, so that you can check, are you doing them? Are you not? Is this something you need to lean into? Is it something that you've got covered? So the first pillar is all about your ability to be visible. And this could be high impact visibility. So for some of the people I work with, they're quite kind of ambitious, go-getters. They're just going to go for it. It's how they're wired. So high impact visibility is for them because there's a few little kind of twists of the Rubik's Cube, so to speak, and then they have a higher impact in how they're seen and how they're visible. Now, for some people under this pillar, it's about visibility for uncertain times. And if you think of the times that we're in now, people are always talking about the cost of living crisis and kind of, there's a bit of doom and gloom out there. How do you stay positive? How do you stay focused? How do you stay visible and put yourself out there in a way that has people compelled to come and look, see what you're up to and come and work with you, even strangers, even people online that you've never met before. And for some of you, people in person, maybe you do a lot of networking, maybe you're part of clubs or associations or groups. How do you raise your profile and become more visible with a high impact there? So if you think of it that way, the first pillar is all about your visibility. Now, in order to get there, you need to have some kind of plan. It can be a scribbled down 5-second plan, or if you're more meticulous and like your spreadsheets and pivot tables, you can create a plan that's very, very detailed. The point is, your being visible needs to have an impact. It needs to make a difference to people's life, which takes us on to the second important part of the system. And if you think about it, on the second pillar, you can either choose to become iconic so that loads of people know about you and what you do, or you can choose to be hard to ignore. How does that feel? And when you've nailed this second pillar, you're either hard to ignore, you're iconic because of the work you do. So let's say, like today on one of the other calls, there are a few people on there that I already have got to know their work. So let's say you teach English to people whose first language is not English. You become iconic when anytime somebody says this person needs to kind of nail English. Maybe they've got an interview with an international company. Maybe they're moving abroad and they want to be able to speak the language and be taken seriously, or something else like that. It means that when they become iconic, anytime somebody says, speak English, foreign language, they're like, oh, I know who that is. And they call on them. It could be that you're a wellness person and you feel like you could be drowning in a sea of other wellness experts or self-care experts, and you want to really make your mark. So this second pillar makes you very hard to ignore. Okay. When you speak, there's a certain magic to your message where people remember your words. They remember what you say, they remember what you do. And this is nothing to do with being articulate or grammatically correct. This is having that kind of impact that has people remember you. Okay, so it's like the impression that you leave. So the third step is all around your biography. How do you share your story? How do you share your signature story? Is it something that is around you as a person? Is it something around the systems that you've built, the services that you provide, the products that you sell, or something else? So we all have our own tale. So if you think of it as telling tales, how do you tell tales? How do you do that? So these are all the stories. So we're not talking about telling your story in a way that feels like a kiss and tell or doesn't feel very private. We're talking about there being a certain brilliance to your biography, a brilliance to what you share. And again, that makes you memorable too. Now, on some of these, you might be thinking, that's me, that's me. And if that's you, great. So yeah, I've nailed this one. Type in the chat, nailed this one, or this other one I'm still working on. All of those are cool too. So those are the first three steps, or first three kind of key pillars. So the fourth pillar is all about your energy and your vibe. Like, who are you? Who are you really? Are you that person that likes a green juice and a vodka, not mixed together? Are you the person who's a foodie, but maybe you're a foodie and you only eat vegan or only eat clean? Maybe you're the person who speaks to strangers. Now, you might be thinking, but what's this got to do with work? What's this got to do with my business? What's this got to do with my organization if you're employed? Or you might be sat on the board thinking, what on earth has this got to do with anything? Well, your energy and your vibe is usually what carries your personal brand along. And what a lot of people make the mistake of doing is trying to create a persona for themselves and then fit into that persona. And it's really easy to fall off the wagon if you do that. I had an example recently, somebody that posted a comment onto something that I'd shared, and it was really off. It was really off. But I take her on the side of caution. I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I thought, well, I'll leave the comment, I'll respond, see what they say. And it went downhill. Oh, I've got something open. That's the call that I'm supposed to be joining. Let me leave the room. And I will come in a moment. Okay, that's it. Otherwise, you're going to get my Australian coach talking in your ear and me speaking in your ear too, which is not a good look. So, coming back to you, there you are. What to do if you're live and something happens in the background? Keep calm and carry on. So on that fourth pillar, it's all about who are you really? What are you sharing? And what I was saying there was, with this particular person, what they did was they kind of exposed themselves very quickly. What they shared was completely different to how they paint themselves publicly. And they do put a lot of stuff out there publicly. They write about being inspired by people's words, loving the heart that they come from, yet how they showed up on my post, and I dread to think other people's posts, was very kind of visceral, very vicious, quite attacking, I'm not going to let you get away with this, when there was no argument to be had. Now, if that's how you're naturally wired, I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying that if that's how you are, then you need to show that. What you don't do is try to find a persona, fit that into a kind of a box, and then try and portray a kind of personality that you're not, a vibe that you're not. It's also important on this one to know what kind of things to share. Some people say, but it feels too personal. Often it's my directors and senior leadership team that think that I'm going to come in and have them dancing on TikTok or pointing or making videos and doing kind of comedy skits online. A lot of them, you visibly see the color come back into their face once you tell them that that's not going to happen. Okay, so that's part of what's under that pillar. So the other thing, as I say, knowing who you are, sharing the business side of stuff, the professional side of stuff that you do, but sharing a piece of yourself that feels comfortable is also cool. And for some people that I work with, sharing something that is quite vulnerable, close to their heart and raw. You know, just this evening, earlier this evening, I was in a group, in an audio room, sorry, on LinkedIn, that was around turning your kind of like grief and pain into power. And that was on the topic of grief. And for some people, the grief that they've gone through in their life is part of their biography, part of their story, part of their brand. And for others, it's something that's happened in their life. And sometimes it's a thing to share, and other times it isn't. So I'm not saying that you have to have kind of an expose, a sob story or anything else like that. But having something to share, knowing who you are, is what forms the content, therefore makes you visible. And that content could be page, stage, screen. And then finally, you've got the speaking. How do you sell your services and how do you speak about them? So in a way, there's two different pieces under there too. But knowing your value and being able to articulate that is one thing. Being visible and being able to speak up, even on difficult conversations and difficult circumstances, is another. Really, really super important. So this is about you not losing your cool, but using your voice. This is about you having cash flow conversations, especially for those of you who are self-employed, freelancers, founders. Sometimes it will be you, sometimes you might delegate it to someone on your team or somebody within your organization. But often, if somebody doesn't pay, it'll be you they'll be speaking to, or at least you'll be speaking to your accountant. If somebody wants to know how they can do something around money, maybe a payment plan to work with you, maybe you'll put in a proposal. All of those sorts of things lead to cash flow conversations. And the dynamic of how to do that is very different for a small business to a bigger business. And in fact, I encourage most most single owner businesses to be able to put their work out, at the very least take a deposit, if not take the full amount up front, even when you're offering services. Something that I didn't do when I offered cakes, and then kind of started working with a business mentor on the training and coaching side, and realized how stressful it felt to take a cake order, buy all the ingredients, make the cake, spend days doing it, and then not know whether the person would be there to pick the cake up, whether they change their mind or cancel it. So cash flow conversations are important. And also under that is something that I've called presentations that sell. So how can you sell your services? And this particularly afflicts business owners who are selling services that aren't seen. If I was selling you this cup of tea, you might be able to say, well, I want to have a look. How strong is it? Can you make it stronger? Can you make it weaker? Maybe you want to buy the cup. You can touch it, tap it. Oh, is that what you like? Is it too thick to drink from? Is it too big for what you need? Is it the wrong color and you want something else? But when you are selling a service like coaching or consulting, when you're selling an experience like a retreat, when you are selling your services because you're about to put a process into somebody's business or into somebody's life, maybe you're helping them take better care of themselves through self-care or self-love. Maybe you're helping them to meditate or get better with their money. They can't look at it, pick it up and say, oh yeah, that looks nice. I like the feel of that. That's quite soft. I'm going to have that. So this is super important that you know how to sell your services. And many people want to be able to do that without feeling forceful, without being pushy, without being too in people's faces. And a lot of people, more now than ever, I'd like to say it's post-pandemic, but pre-pandemic as well. I think throughout the pandemic, it changed where people didn't want to be forceful. They didn't want to send cold messages to strangers they didn't know. They don't want to fill lots of people in a bucket. They don't want to start picking fruit, whether it's low hanging or otherwise. They want to be able to have tangible conversations with people. So in a nutshell, those are the 5 key areas of vibes. If you think of visibility vibes, which is now trademarked, so if you like it and think it's cute, please don't use it, and please don't try and change it, because it always comes back to me. There's always somebody out there that says, Jenny, look at this person. They've shared this. That looks like your work. And the reason that I want you to share your own work is so that you can articulate your value and to know that what you do works and what you do matters. I often think when people look at what other people are doing, they just haven't found their voice yet. And that's the main core part of my message. So visibility with impact, so that you can talk about your own biography, your own story with a vibe that's yours, and you can sell it well and say it well. And if you went backwards through that system, how can you sell something if you don't know what it is or who you are? How can you really get to the bottom of who you are and know what to share if you haven't mapped out your story or stories? And how can you map out those stories if you don't know how best to impact people in a positive way? And of course, how can you do any of that if you're hiding under your desk every day, never telling anybody about who you are, what you do, who you work with, the benefits or the transformation that happens from the work you do? So that, my friends, is the Visibility Vibes. I hope you found this helpful. I'm going to go and hop off now onto that call that I'm missing. And I'll be back tomorrow for day 362. So tomorrow will be Wednesday, then Thursday, and then Friday. 3, 2, 1. That's it. I hope I can offer some sort of value. If there's something you want me to cover in the next 3 days, you've got to be quick. Let me know and I'll deliver it here for you. Bye for now.